Bitcoin's price is absolutely ripping again, and it's worth taking a step back to take a look at why. Billionaire Jack Dorsey recently sat down with the CEO of the largest sovereign wealth fund on earth, a $2 trillion monster that holds 1.5% of the world's public equities. They weren't talking about oil, stocks, or bonds. They were talking about Bitcoin. And I'm talking about Norway. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Around. Enter Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a protocol for moving money around. If Bitcoin is used not just as a store of value, but as a currency to move money around between people or between businesses and people or businesses and businesses, as that becomes more and more a thing, which I do think it becomes over the next 5 years, then we can launch Cash App and Square in every single country that has the internet. And that allows us to serve more people better, faster. And because Bitcoin is open, it's not controlled by one company, it's not controlled by any one government, it's completely transparent. People can see what it does, and we can solve all the problems that we would task with governments and companies to solve by doing it transparently and by doing it openly. Because again, it's the internet and it goes to internet principles. So I'm hoping these financial systems take on more internet principles and we can truly be an internet company instead of going market by market by market, which is just a really slow way to build for the world. You can't build for the world. You can only build for these particular markets that you happen to be approved in. And again, you have to be approved by another company. You have to be approved by these things that don't have your interest or even their customers' interests at heart.
So what needs to happen for Bitcoin to function more effectively?
I think it's happening right now. Like more and more people see that it's valuable. Every time that number goes up, people get more interested in it. I don't believe in Bitcoin and its final stage is just a store of value, but I think it's a necessary part of the path to get to, I think, the next big one, which is remittance across border, moving money between businesses, moving money between people across borders, which is happening in many countries outside the United States and Western countries today because there's no other options. And then it gets to currency.
Very interesting. And listen to that point that he made. As that number continues to go up, more people see value in it. So we're at a point where this isn't speculation, nor is it an isolated incident. It's proof that sovereign entities are quietly preparing for the end of the fiat era, and they're eyeing Bitcoin as the escape hatch. If that doesn't scare you, it should, because it means time is running out, and those that wait on the sidelines now are going to be accumulating Bitcoin at much, much higher prices. Now, just days ago, the US government itself admitted that the dollar's days are numbered. They passed a bill, the Genius Act, that screams one thing. We must delay the inevitable and kick the can down the road one last time. We must stall Bitcoin's rise while we prepare. The clock is ticking. So don't go anywhere, because today we're going to outline what the Genius Act is, how it intends to drag out the dollar's imminent death, and how even this may backfire and rocket Bitcoin's price higher and faster than ever before. Let me break this down for my fellow Bitcoiners. In just 8 weeks, I've seen a serious shift. More strength, more energy, and fast muscle gains. The reason? FITSCRIPT. They ran 124 biomarkers, blood, hormones, inflammation, and built a fully custom plan: nutrition, training, supplements. No guesswork, no templates. This is functional medicine meets precision fitness for high-performing men who want sovereignty over their health. If you care about optimization the way you care about your money, test, don't guess. Don't trust, verify. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to check out FITSCRIPT and see what's possible. I want to frame up this next section before we get into the Genius Act by the state of affairs in the US right now in terms of debt, in terms of inflation, and all of that. And this is a tweet from Kevin Gordon here. He says, "This is a breakdown of the GOP tax bill from the Wall Street Journal." And this is basically the proposed expenditures in the future for the US government and deficit changes through 2034. So looking out basically a decade. In total, increases the budget deficits by nearly $3 trillion, trillion with a T, over a decade. So this isn't already the existing deficits. This is piled on top of it. Exorbitant amounts of money continuing to be spent above and beyond what's already being spent. People were expecting budget cuts, not this. This is way, way worse than it already was. And let's take a look at the Treasury Secretary. He was on CNN the other day, and he had something to say about this bill and about how this deficit would be managed. So let's listen in here.
There are several components there. So if we unpack it, there is the potential growth of the debt. But what's more important is that we grow the economy faster. So what we've seen under the past 4 years, and what we inherited, I inherited 6.7% deficit to GDP, which was the highest deficit when we were not at war, not in a recession. So we've been trying to bring down the spending, and we are going to grow the revenue side. So we are going to grow the GDP faster than the debt grows, and that will stabilize the debt to GDP, which even Secretary Yellen and I agree is the most important number.
Now, again, this is an exorbitant amount of spending that they are proposing here. And he's basically saying that, hey, we can't stop spending. And so we're not even going to try. What we're going to try and do is build up our economy enough that it kind of outpaces how bad we are at spending. And Lynn Alden, one of my favorite people, of course, she's got her tagline, and she couldn't help but weigh in here. They're basically in the nothing stops this train, so let's accelerate it phase. She's long said that there is no stopping this train. You have to continue to print to support what has already been done. Otherwise, the entire house of cards comes down upon itself. So how does all this relate to what we were talking about with the Genius Act, and what is the Genius Act? The Senate voted on this late Monday to advance the Genius Act, a bill that aims to regulate some cryptocurrencies. Now, it did face some Democratic opposition, but some people crossed the line. 16 Democrats voted in favor of it as well. Now, the bill sets rules for stablecoin issuers, and this is the important part, including a mandate that firms hold a reserve of assets underlying the cryptocurrency. That stipulation aims to protect consumers who otherwise risk a failure to cash out their holdings in the event of a rapid, widespread offloading of coins. And so what they're basically saying is, hey, you can absolutely issue stable coins, US dollar stable coins, but you've got to back it with something. And why would the US be so keen on the idea of more stable coin issuers? What do they want right now? What are two things that they really need? They can't stop spending. They can't stop printing. They need to issue more debt. They need more people to want dollars. So they need demand for that. They need people to buy US treasuries, and they need people, not just in the US, but around the globe, to have a demand for US dollars. And we have seen a shift away from utilizing US dollars to settle trade when it comes to oil. We see Russia and China and other countries saying, hey, we're going to start settling trade other ways. So this, in a way, will scratch both itches if they get more stablecoin issuers. Why is that? Well, because number one, when you have a stablecoin and it is available to people around the globe. A lot of people in other countries that have also fiat currencies, but ones that are way worse than the dollar, sometimes hyperinflationary or just mildly inflationary, more so than the dollar. They want the better, harder currency. They want the one that's going to hold value better. And so they would prefer to have US dollars. So if you have more stable coins available around the world and more people issuing them, then it makes it more accessible for all. So, hey, demand for dollars up because more people can easily get their hands on them. But furthermore, I want to point to Tether. Tether is the world's largest and most circulated stablecoin issuer. And this is just from this week. Tether outpaces Germany with $120 billion in treasury bonds. And so Tether, again, the issuer of USDT, they reached a historical milestone, surpassing Germany with their $100 billion invested. The company now ranks the 19th largest global holder of U.S. treasuries, overtaking not just Germany, but several other nations. This is wild. A stablecoin issuer with demand for treasury bonds that outpaces countries. Now, why are they doing this? It's actually a genius business model. So what happens when Tether is issued is it's actually somebody giving them dollars, depositing them into a bank account, and then Tether issues USDT in the form of that stable coin so people can more easily move it around. And so what do they do with that deposit then? Do they just sit it in the bank? Absolutely not. They want to get a yield on other people's money. So they go out and they buy a number of things, but largely US treasuries. Why? Because they get a percentage, whatever the current rate, interest rate is, they're going to get that on the treasuries that they purchase. And so for them, it's literally no risk. It's people give them money, they issue a stable coin, and then they say, okay, we've got this money, let's buy treasuries. The US government is not going to not pay us back. If worst case, they're just going to they're going to print more dollars to pay back the treasuries once it comes up to maturity. And so Tether just pockets that difference for nothing. They're issuing a stable coin. People are using that, and they use the stable coin to buy treasuries, which are going to hold the nominal dollar value plus interest, and they keep the interest. They're making money hand over fist with this. Now, so that covers the US dollar, the US government. They're happy. There's more demand for dollars. There's more demand for treasuries. Of course, they're going to want more stablecoin issuers, and they're going to want to encourage it and have regulations that say you have to be backed by something, because what are they going to back it with? Treasuries. However, how could this backfire? How could this actually massively accelerate the price of Bitcoin and the shift from dollars to Bitcoin? Well, what are they doing with those profits? They get paid out the interest on the treasuries they're buying. What are they doing once they get that? Are they just banking the dollars? Absolutely not. They are buying Bitcoin. Tether currently has over 100,000 Bitcoin in its treasury. That's $10.8 billion. And this isn't slowing down. As they make more money, they buy more Bitcoin and they pile more and more into it. And it's not just Tether. There are more and more companies and entities and sovereigns that are coming in and establishing Bitcoin treasuries. Here's a tweet from NVK showing a post from bitcointreasuries.net showing entities holding Bitcoin at 202. He said just 2 weeks ago, this was 180. Bitcoin treasuries rapidly becoming the standard. And if you take a look over at bitcointreasuries.net, that graph showing the Bitcoin held in treasuries is going up and to the right at an accelerated pace. We're sitting at 3.34 million Bitcoin held in Bitcoin treasuries currently, and we are just getting started. So when I said it should scare you, it absolutely should. You are running out of time to stack sats. This thing, as Lynn says, nothing stops this train. And this train is getting a major, major boost. It is being accelerated like nothing we've ever seen. And the price is reflecting that. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions.